Hello everyone, welcome to the Career Paths webinar series from BioCareers, the leading career service and job board for life science postgraduates. BioCareers provides online career resources and job postings to postgraduate and alumni candidates and recruitment services to employers. This webinar series exposes life science postgraduates to a variety of relevant career paths that leverage their scientific skills. Before we begin, a quick word about the format. Our presenter will speak for about 40 minutes, after which we will have a Q&A session. If you are listening through the internet, you are welcome to type in your questions as they come to you, or you can wait for the Q&A to ask your question verbally by raising your hand by clicking the Raise Your Hand button in your webinar control panel. If you are calling in, we will be opening the lines after the presentation, and you will have a chance to raise your hand then. Following this webinar on December 8th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time, you will have another opportunity to ask questions of today's presenter, as she will be available on our Facebook fan page at www.facebook.com/biocareers. Also, we will email you a link to today's webinar, which will also be available on biocareers.com in the Career Paths section for job seekers. So, today's webinar is presented by Jenni Crowley. Dr. Jenni Crowley is an experienced senior consultant in the strategy and operations practice at Deloitte Consulting with a focus on healthcare and life sciences. She received her PhD from the University of Pennsylvania in 2008 and is currently based in Cincinnati, Ohio. Take it away, Jenni.
Thank you, Krista, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to present and hopefully provide you with some tips and tricks for a career in management consulting. To get us started, I would like to briefly poll the audience and just understand who's out there and what your interests are today with regards to this webinar. So, Krista, if you could help me with this to help us poll the audience.
The poll is up. We are asking the audience to please click one or more choices.
So why are you attending this webinar today? A, you're just beginning your career search and have no idea what you want to do. B, I think consulting sounds interesting and I'd like to learn more about it. C, I have decided consulting is a good career choice for me and I'm here to gain some tricks for my application. Or D, other reason.
All right. We are getting close to 100% in receiving all the votes. So I am going to close the poll and share the results.
Okay.
So 17% of the people chose A. We have 83% on B, 26% on C, and 4% on D.
Okay. Great. So we have a good spread here. It looks like a lot of people have already done some research on management consulting and are here to learn more. So that's really exciting. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and click back into the presentation and move on. Thanks, everyone, for contributing to the poll. To get us started, I'd like to just give you a brief rundown of the agenda topics for today's presentation. I'll start out with a brief introduction. Krista introduced me. I'll just add a couple more points around the work that I'm currently doing at Deloitte and another consulting firm that I worked at prior to where I am now. We'll also just talk briefly about what is management consulting. For those of you in that 17% that chose A, I can just give you a really brief background about what this industry is about and what the job is about. And go into gaining experience. So if you're interested in consulting, what are some things that you can do to help bolster your resume and your application materials prior to really moving forward and applying for the job? We'll talk about networking, so how can you meet people who are in this industry and help to learn more about it and prepare yourself even more. Resumes and cover letters will be our next topic, just some quick tips and tricks that I've learned and my colleagues have learned about how to build the most effective resumes and cover letters for a management consulting career. We'll then go into interview tips, and there's a lot out there on this. We could probably spend an entire session just talking about how to interview for these types of jobs, but in a nutshell, I'll try to provide you with some high-level ideas and ways to move forward to prepare. We'll then talk about the transition from academia to consulting, because I can't stress enough how different my life is now compared to the way it was when I did my PhD at Penn. It's a very, very different lifestyle, very different pace, and different expectations when you move into a consulting role. And then finally, we'll end with a Q&A, which Krista will help moderate. Really briefly about myself, as Krista said, I currently work at Deloitte Consulting, and within Deloitte there is a large area known as the Strategies and Operations Group, and our group is really responsible for helping companies look ahead and plan out their business over the next few years as a strategy piece of it, and also an operations piece. So how will they actually implement all of the changes and big initiatives that companies want to do? Within that strategy and operations group, I work in the healthcare and life sciences group, which focuses on biotech and pharmaceutical companies along with health plans and providers, so insurance companies and doctors across the world. I specialize particularly in drug development, in the R&D process, and in commercialization, so launching new products and making sure that products are as effective as they can be once they're out on the market. Prior to joining Deloitte, I worked at a smaller management consulting firm known as Campbell Alliance. I was based in their San Francisco, California office, working with biotech companies in the Bay Area. So when we start to talk a little bit more about what is management consulting, and we talk about the different types of firms, I can offer my perspective on what it's like to work for a very, very large organization such as Deloitte, which is a global, very large firm, and my prior experience working at Campbell Alliance, which is a small boutique specialty firm. As I said, I received my PhD in immunology from the University of Pennsylvania in 2008, and I'm currently based in Cincinnati, Ohio. Although you'll learn that with some of the larger consulting firms, they have a very heavy travel model. So although I live in Cincinnati, most of my work is done on the East Coast. So what is management consulting? It is the industry and practice of helping companies improve their performance. And what a management consulting company will do, or the consultants will do, is to analyze existing business problems within that company or business opportunities, and then help them develop plans of improvement for the future. And I understand this is a very broad definition, and we can do projects as large as helping two major companies merge together, all the way down to very small projects of how an individual department can improve itself and improve its performance and get some new plans for development off the ground. Consulting firms can serve many industries, so a large organization like Deloitte serves many, many industries, from healthcare to aerospace to finance to travel and tourism, all the way down to specializing in just one industry, such as the smaller consulting firms may do, and this could be something like IT or healthcare or very specific issues and problems that a company can face. Consulting firms can be large, medium, or boutique in size. Like I said, I worked for Deloitte, which is a very large firm, but in previous experience I worked for Campbell Alliance, which is a boutique firm. And finally, consultants often serve their clients by working in teams. So when we start to talk about tips and tricks for your applications, you'll want to emphasize both your teamwork skills, but also your leadership skills, because most of the work we do is side by side with other people. Oftentimes our projects are within a defined timeline. Within consulting, they can be anywhere from a month to 6-week engagement all the way up to years, with working with one particular client on one problem, just depending on what the issue is and what the scope of the project is. And normally we work within a fee So there's a one set amount that our particular project is sold for, and then we have to carefully manage internally our budget as we go across this timeline. Moving on to gaining experience. So if you've decided that consulting is something that you want to do, and just so if there's those of you out there in the audience who may also be interested in other types of jobs in business, not just consulting, many of these tips will probably be applicable to that as well. Really, these tips will help you gain experience to move away from the typical academic job where you're working at the bench and you're primarily doing research. All of these tips will help you consider a job in business. They'll both give you a little taste of what that world is like and then help you build your resume and your materials appropriately. The first tip for gaining experience is to take some business courses. And depending on your work schedule, this can be a challenge, but one of the best ways to get some insights into what this world is like is to try to sit in, audit, or actually take a course for credit within some of the disciplines of finance, accounting, and marketing. And this will just give you some background on business, help you learn some of the language, and just get an idea of what business problems are out there and what you might be facing as a consultant. Secondly, and this is probably an easy one while you're on the train or the subway, is you can just pick up a copy of the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Business Week, other business publications, or zero in on the business sections of newspapers and really learn the types of problems and issues and events that are going on within the business world. This will help you gain that knowledge, help your vocabulary of business terminology, and overall just make it easier for you to carry on conversations when you start to interact with other consultants and interview for a position within consulting. It's always a great icebreaker to be able to say, oh, hey, did you see the front page of the Wall Street Journal today, and did you see that article about this company that's merging with another company? It's just a great way to kind of break the ice and get people talking. The third option on here is to be active in a consulting or entrepreneurship club. And depending on what's going on there at Columbia, and I myself don't know all of the clubs and things that are available to students and postdocs, but getting involved in either a school-associated club or even a meetup group or other things that are going on there in New York to give you an opportunity to not only meet like-minded individuals who are interested in this type of career, but even give you an opportunity to do some pro bono consulting work for local organizations. When I was at Penn, we had a group called the Penn Biotech Group, and we put together groups of 5 or 6 students to work with a local startup biotech company. And we would work on projects for a semester with them, usually very simple market research, market analysis, or helping them prepare a presentation for a venture capital firm. But we found that experience extremely valuable then when we went into interviews for consulting positions, because you could say, I've done this type of work before, albeit on a very small scale, but I know what it's like to work with clients one-on-one and help them solve their business problems, and I know how to execute a project within a defined timeline. Another option is to complete an internship or a volunteer opportunity at your school's technology transfer office, or work with a professor there at Columbia that's planning to commercialize a discovery from their lab. And both of these options will give you an opportunity to understand how an idea, a potential